I'm going to show you, and I'm just going to do this from exec mode. The commands are all in the slide deck. The configuration doesn't make much sense to keep bouncing back and forth, but you can set terminal history size 0. And so technically the history buffer is enabled, size of the history buffer is 0, so effectively it's disabled. Don't know why you would want to use this. I guess it's just an alternate way of disabling it. This could show up on a one of those classic CCIE questions where it's do not disable the history buffer, but do not allow anybody to see what's in the history buffer, some bullshit like that. I'm not jaded. Anyways, so now if we do a show history, we shouldn't see anything. Do a show terminal, include history, should see our settings. So history is enabled. It's just you set the history size to 0. And I guess while we're here, let's give you one more here. Terminal no history size. And what that's going to do is that's going to set us back to our default, which in this case should be 20. That didn't work. Oh, it did work. Interesting. Well, you learn a little something here. So remember before we had disabled this, yet it still populated that history buffer. Here I set the size to 0, so it wasn't technically disabled, it was still enabled, but it erased the commands that were in there. I no longer had these commands, so when I started again, I tried to up arrow, I had nothing in my history buffer, so that was what surprised me. And now when I do a show history, I just have the most recent commands, that I just issued. So I guess, again, if you're at a party and you want to entertain your friends, actually, if you think you're going to entertain your friends with this type of shit, you most likely are not at any parties and probably don't have any friends except for the ones that you blow up. Not that I speak from experience. And that's about it for the show history command. I mean, the biggest things that you want to know is how to enable it, the fact that it's on a per TTY line basis. And actually, I'm going to log out of here and get back into my console line. And how to set the terminal buffer size. You're going to use this quite a bit, and it's really nice to know. It's also nice to know, I guess the other point is that it does keep a different set of commands based on whether you're in configuration mode or exec mode. So I'm going to take a second here. I'm going to go over to R2, and I do want to show you the show history all, and I touched on this in the slides. This may or may not appear on your router depending on the iOS version. What's interesting here is I am using on this router, it's a 3640, the other one was 3725. Both of these are emulated in Dynamips, but it's using an older code. That was using 12.4 code. This is using 12.3 code. But what's interesting is this command is here. So let's take a look at this guy. And when you start it out, you see, kind of like a show ver, gives you some information, but here's where it gets interesting. It's kind of giving you a history here because this is our initial config, and then we start seeing all the commands. So here's where I got into configuration mode. I set host name, all of this stuff. The cool thing, I guess if you can call it cool, is that it will not show password statements. So this is probably where I set my enable secret password. So that is one good bit. But you can see here it's giving you all the log information. I initially had a duplex mismatch because I'm running Ethernet cable between the two routers. It shows you here, again, it shows you the command up to the password. So when it sees password, it does not. So here I have packetlab set up with a privilege of 15 and a password of packetlab. Anyways, what I want to show you is that this does have a lot of information, all of your commands. So it's even stuff that got erased out of the buffer or doesn't exist in the buffer any longer is here. Don't have a lot of information on this. This does seem like it could be a security hazard, because let's show you something here real quick. Okay, so I just logged in. I'm telnetted from R1 to R2. I used packetlab, which is a level 15 account. And what I want to do is go back on R2 here, and I'm going to go ahead and disable. Disable is the opposite of enable. It will put you in privilege level 1, I believe. I always hesitate on that. It is level 1. So here I shouldn't be able to see commands that, this guy, privilege level 15, is executing. But if I do show history all, and this is again from privilege level 1, we get all this garbage up front. But let's see, what was the command that I had? Well, let's make it easy. Okay, this is a priv level 15s, and won't take that obviously, but let's go ahead and do this again. And here you go. So you see that I'm here on R2 as privilege level 1. This guy's logged in as privilege level 15. He's, you know, in exec mode, and I can see his commands. So just I'll look for more information on this, but just be aware that this exists. It can be cool. You can spy on people and see what the hell they were up to, you know. When Joe Blow says, "Oh no, I didn't, you know, clear the counter," so you can say, "Oh, wait a second here, I can see that you did." But I don't like having this on a router, because if some bozo gets on there in privilege level 1, they can see what I did, short of, thankfully, seeing my passwords. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up for the command history function. Thanks for joining me in the Packet Lab. As always, I hope this is beneficial, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you. Goodbye.